So it's my pleasure and privilege to be with you this afternoon, and I apologize for this. Not sure exactly why this delay happens between, we can't synchronize the presentation, but this, the topic of my presentation is the 3 Yankee Zero Juliet Bouvet expedition of January 2023. More certainly one of the most challenging projects done in amateur radio, and most certainly the most expensive. The place at Bouvet, it's known to you for sure. Some of you might have worked the previous operations from there, or if not, this obviously would be a new one. And there we received a lot of emails from numerous people who, okay, apparently you got it. How should we? Should I mention slide 1, slide 2, or?
I think that's the best thing to do. So we can see it now. So you can see what we can see. So
great. So why don't we move?
Slide you want, and we'll and Chris will stay kneeling at the table to do it.
Okay, so let's go on slide 2. So on slide 2, you see the position of Bouvet in the South Atlantic Ocean, approximately the middle of a equal side triangle. Well, given or taken with a little bit of imagination, between Cape Town, Falklands, and Antarctica, and this part is quite interesting. I'll mention a little more about it just shortly. Just to see how far it is in general terms, approximately 13,000 kilometers from New York, the same distance to Oslo, about 12,000 kilometers to London, 16,000 to Tokyo, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty far from the large populated areas, and a few guys will be a little luckier. The guys in South Africa and of course South America, but for the most part we're talking about 12 to 15,000 kilometers, so it's quite far away. So slide 4, well, next slide. I just put a few data that I found on the internet. I've never been to Bouvet and didn't do a lot of research, such as for writing a book, for instance, but we just put a few, important dates. I thought it's kind of interesting things for everyone to know. I'm not gonna talk about all of them, but I'm just gonna mention that it's apparently a very windy place, and a lot of storms around the year, and the chance of landing in a beautiful day such as that on the photo above are slim. Are very, very, very slim. However, as you will see shortly, we're trying to, allocate enough time so that we can have enough operation, and in the direst of conditions, we will still have enough time to be on the island and satisfy the demand. One other thing which is very important is that for a long time, this particular place has been a protected nature reserve, and we had to sign, specific regulations according to which we have to take with us back when we leave everything that we are bringing with us. And when I mentioned that, it's any kind of garbage, any kind of human waste will have to be transported back, or out of Bouvet anyway. So whatever we put in the ground for anchors, for stakes, we'll have to remove when we leave. So that's a little bit of a challenge, which we'll have to deal with. And the next slide is just a very quick presentation of the team. You might already know that many of you browsed the internet and dropped on our website, and so the 12 operators, 6 from Europe and 6 from North America. So it happened to be, and also the driver. The team leaders are Ken Rune and Erwan. These guys have also been with the Juliet Whiskey, Zero Whiskey, the last operation from, the last large operation from Svalbard last year. And I think you're familiar with most of the other, if not all of the other operators. I have been, you know, I'm still grateful to you and the CDXC organization and all of you for having sponsored a lot of my expeditions. They were small in scope. There are other expeditions, but many of these gentlemen have done multi operations, which you have sponsored generously over the years. Now the boat, next slide, the boat is it's a 100-foot boat, and it will take us, well, we hope that we can get in approximately 12 days from Falkland to Bouvet. And we might be a little foolish, but we think that maybe in 10 days we can go from Bouvet to Cape Town. It's about 4,000 kilometers, the actual navigation path that we will follow. So from Falkland, so just to give you the idea. So our port of loading port, it's supposed to be Port Stanley, unless something happens COVID-wise between now and then. We hope not, but we'll have to see. Otherwise, we'll have to pick it up from Ushuaia, which is another couple of days of sailing, at least, and all sorts of other issues logistically with the local authorities, which are, you know, a little less reliable in our opinion than the guys from Falkland. That's there's a few photos to prove, if it was necessary, the experience that Marama and the team, the crew have with such conditions. And then the next slide, just for those of you who might be a little more into yachting, gives you a little bit of an idea of the technical capacity, technical characteristics of this beautiful machine operated by Olivier Leec and another couple guys were part of his crew. As you can see, we have a watermaker capable of doing 250 liters per hour. That's a phenomenal amount of water that we can that the machine this machine can do. And thank God we don't have to take water with us. We'll have it on site anytime we want. So the next slide, it shows the landing place at Cape Phi. Our landing permit specifically prohibits us from being anywhere close to the weather station. So we thought, based on a very careful analysis, that the only possible place to be far away from that and far away from all the green areas that you see on the photo, which are heavily populated with penguins and all sorts of other wildlife, is Cape Phi. So and the image on the right hand, on top right, shows you a little bit of how Cape Phi looks in a good landing condition over a beautiful, beautiful day. Now, here's a couple more photos that I want to show you. This is the hill on top of which we need to get with all the equipment. It's a little over 4 tons of equipment and camping gear, and another about over 4 tons of supplies. So we'll talk about this in a minute. And this is another image of the hill. There's some courses in September for glacier climbing, just in case some of us may need to be capable to do that and place mount inside into the hill a ladder, so that the rest of the crew, the rest of our team, will be able to get up. Now about the equipment, very quickly. So we're going to use the K3S rigs, radios for Morse code and SSB operation, and the Sun SDR radios for FT8. There will be 12 of them, and so we should be able to keep them running. Probably, I don't know if all of them will run under the, around the clock. Depends on the propagation. It seems to get better. We have great hopes, but I don't know. We'll have to see. In any case, we are prepared to run, as I'll mention in a minute, up to 3 stations on a band, and we should be able to keep to have a lot of stations on the air most of the time, hopefully. Then what else? You can read this yourself, but I'm just going to mention that we'll have 10 expert amplifiers. So our intention is to have the 8 stations, the 8 K3Ss on amplifiers with two spares. But we'll have to see how things go. These expert amplifiers are extremely convenient. They're very small. They have a lot of pluses, but sometimes they tend to die. So if we can manage to keep enough of them running, who knows? Maybe towards the end of later in the operation, we might be able to run, if needed, some. Maybe 160 or 80 meters FT4 on some power, some higher power. But the intention is to use FT8 on 100 watts only. So we'll have 12 main antennas, and I'll talk about them shortly. And we'll use the Messi and Paoloni very light coax cable, which probably weighs, I don't know, about half less than about half of the normal ones we would have taken otherwise. And we'll have 5 diesel generators. So the generators are 3.7 kilowatts. So it should be enough juice there to allow us to move on. Many of you know K3, if not K3S. It has some additional, the possibility to, we'll have some very narrow band filters. And there are also some other conveniences with it. The USB interface is what's going to help a lot of in our operation. The next slide, we're moving to the just a short presentation of the expert amplifiers. So we will have the 2 kilowatt version for 160. As a matter of fact, we'll have 2 kilowatt amplifiers just to make sure that we're not losing everything that we can put on 160. But as you probably know very well, it's unlikely that we run any of the amplifiers close to their maximum specs. So we assume that the 2 kilowatt amplifier will be run somewhere around 1.5, 1.7, and the 1.5 will be around 1.2, something like that. 1 kilowatt, 1.2, just to take it easy, kind of thing. Just make sure that we keep them for the duration of the entire operation. The computers, well, it's probably not super important to you, but they've already been configured. We'll use this Lenovo, which we had to purchase, and we also going to have a power management so that not everybody we will be able to decrease the power, but we cannot increase the power. We'll have to make sure that we reach that stage where the interference is minimal, and then people are not going to play around, because producing more power here and there and giving headaches to their teammates, right? So this is all going to be, the power management is going to be controlled. It's software controlled. And once the final tests, which we carry out in Norway, will be done, we'll stick to whatever limits we have been provided by those tests. And so obviously, if we cannot run for one reason or another, the propagations is such that there's no interference to neighboring bands, then we'll do, we can increase that. But there will be one person per shaft, 3 people of the 12 who will have the ability to control this power management through software. Okay, now the antenna farm, it's a little bit of a sketch on the left-hand side of the next slide, which is obviously tentative. We had to manage the best we could the space, and this is as close as to the design that we came to that we came to. But we'll have to be very close to this placement of the antennas. So as you can see, there are 4 tri-banders and 3 dual banders. Some of them will be fixed. They don't have the ability because the masts are square masts in section. They have a square section. It takes a special bracket to be able to rotate them. So only one of the tri-banders and one of the dual banders will be able to rotate. The rest of them will be fixed, probably somewhere in, middle North America, Central Europe, and Japan, or Far East Asia. And the fourth, or in case of a dual bander, one of each will have the ability to be rotated, and we will fix it on different positions depending on the propagation. For the rest, the 160 meters, we'll have verticals on all these bands: 160, 80, 40, and 30. And there's a number, and that we'll have, as you see on the top left drawing. On the very, very top, you see the Lima Zulu 1 Alpha Quebec reception antenna. So this is going to be probably 250 meters away from everything else. So in case some operators cannot do a proper reception through their normal antennas, they will be able to, all of us will be able to listen to through this antenna. So this is a general reception antenna that all the 12 positions should be able to listen to through. There'll be a number of additional antennas. I'm not going to waste much time on them now because I was late just because of the startup. But in the next slides, we do some mock designs as to how the camp may look like. So in the first one, you can see the tents. One of them, they're not going to be quite like that, but we'll have a social tent and the operations tent and a social tent where there'll be computers, and they will be actually linked through a tunnel, and there'll be pretty much equipment everywhere. And then we'll have a sleeping tent and a restroom tent. So here's another idea, just a mock to give you a little bit of an idea as to the directions of towards Europe, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Northwest, North America, East Coast and West Coast. As you can see, the North American West Coast, or towards the West Coast, it's the highest, let's say, the highest hump on the island, and we think that we'll be able to stay away from that. But there are provisions made in case this doesn't happen. How are we going to move and install the antennas to make sure that we'll give everyone enough satisfaction to respond to the demand. And here's another mock just to give you an idea where that little hump is, kind of towards the West Coast of North America. And, we're looking eventually, particularly for 160, to maybe place the antenna further just to stay outside of that if need be. I'll skip through the next couple of slides. There are different tests that have been done. The one with the two antennas indicates that last weekend, a number of operators have been in Norway, the guys in charge of setting up the equipment and the antennas, the rigs, everything else, amplifiers. And they've run a lot of tests, a lot of interference tests, and the results were very good, but there's still some work to be done. You can see the 160 vertical on the left-hand side, and in the center is the 6-element beam, not at 10 meters, but it's not cranked up for the tri-bander. Now, myself, I'm part of the team, kind of leading the team on the logistics and the safety, together with one on the safeties, together with one of the two medical doctors we have. We actually have two ER doctors with us and one dentist. So we might be better taken care of than under normal conditions anyway. And I don't have an intention to read all of this. I'm running late, so we have to come to the end very quickly. But the gist of it is that we'll probably have about 15 runs, 15 transports, Zodiac transports from the boat to the island, and perhaps 3 to 5 more for the supplies. So we will bring the supplies for 10 days period, for periods of 10 days. And while our intention and schedule is to be on the island for 22 days, that includes obviously the time to build up and take down the camp, but 22 days, we have provisions and so we have supplies for up to 30, just because weather conditions might be such that, rather than going 2 days later, we might be staying another 4 days. So there will be enough supplies for us to be able to withstand a month on the island. Don't have intention to do that because that will take us. We're already going to have a long trip to the island and from the island. So don't think of that. Just think of 3 weeks. But we want to be able to break, if we can, I don't know, the record for total QSOs for mega DXpeditions and unique stations. So we have to make at least for that, at least 220,000 contacts with 50,000 unique call signs. And we want at least 2,000 on 160. I said 4, but they laughed at me. They said it was not going to happen, not from Bouvet. So we'll see. Every single transport, there's a sequencing that we have to go through, and every single transport is made such that we do not transport two identical sets of things, such as antennas, masts of a certain type, radios, or anything else on the same transport. Reason being that the boat can flip, and we will likely consider everything that is in that transport lost. So we're trying to make very carefully to do a schedule and a sequencing of exactly how the stations, how the camp, how the hoisting facility, how the climbing gear and everything else will be installed and organize every single transport as such. Everything will be coded, and hopefully there will be no errors, but we hope the errors will be as minimum as possible. So we'll try to transport. We'll have 38 sealed drums of 200 liters that will keep all the equipment that all the components that have to be waterproof safe. And we'll have a number of other cases for the large electronics, that will be not waterproof, but water resistant and water protected, and we hope to be able to stay out of trouble with all that. I think my time is kind of done, and I can't close without mentioning the budget. CDXC donated generously, and we are extremely grateful for your serious, support, very, very generous support. But so did others. So did a number of other clubs and organizations and foundations. And you can see a little bit of a breakdown here. It's approximately at this point in time, about $165,000 received from individual donors and from clubs and foundations and associations, almost 200,000. There's a figure that we put down, the operators put down 240,000, but there will be another approximately $30,000 that the operators have to fork. And that's for taking trips to Norway or for different purposes and then transportation. They'll need to get to Port Stanley and back from Cape Town. Plus there's a few other costs that they have to do. So to 30,000, that's at least, I'd say, $2,500 or more per operator. So that's on top of the $240,000 or $20,000. So we have a lot of corporate sponsors, and it's thanks to them that we'll be able to do this operation for at a cost of $700,000, of which most of it will go for the boat. Luckily, we don't have Braveheart with us, which would have cost an additional $90,000 plus just in the cost of fuel required in view of all these increases that happened during the last roughly 6 to 8 months. So. With this, I thank you very much, and I'm sorry. We apologize to the next speaker. If you have a few questions, I'll take. If not, if you think that we have to move on, I'll accept that as well. And once again, thank you for being an integral part of this project, being with us all along and helping us out and helping everyone around the world to bring this dream to fruition.
Cesar, thanks very much. That's really sums it up. There will be questions, I'm sure, but I've got the mic, so I get the first one. Probably in the audience, there's probably 10 of us who are on T32 who hold that 200,000 record.
Yes.
I have a question to you.
Yes.
How many of your 220,000 plus are going to be FT8?
Well, we are not going to run as much FT8 as you may think. I think that you'll be surprised, but this is not an operation intended for FT8. So there'll be either some of the operators, once the pileup subsides a bit, who will operate one FT8 and one CW or SSB station, which can be done. Or maybe one or two operators at rest, not doing anything else, just taking care of the 4 FT8 stations. So keep also in mind that the FT8 will only run 100 watts. And while that is sufficient, I mean, I worked the other day on the CW and FT8 Nepal for the first time ever in 25 years on 12 meters. And I worked Pakistan. The guy in Pakistan was only running 20 watts into a homemade dipole. Will be some other bands such as 80 and 160 where 100 watts might just be, we have to be very creative about that. So it's not an operation dedicated to FT8. Otherwise, we might have been able to do 200,000 just by leaving it. The other issue is that we are aware of the DXCC and the IOTA requirements for, contemporaneous and man-assisted operations. So we're not going to leave at any time the stations running on their own with some pre-coded, if you copy North America, pick up North America. If you copy Europe, pick up Europe. No, it will be a man who will make the selection every few minutes. Will fill the queues. So congratulations to you. I worked on many bands, if not all, that beautiful Tango 32 Charlie. But in general, the operations from this region of the planet, the subantarctic or Antarctic areas, they don't tend to give those multipliers that are used in other places. So, for example, while the top, and I'm not talking about the FT8 operations done from 3 Delta 2 Charlie Romeo, and which ended up with 6,000 contacts per day per man, or the other one, which was earlier done from 3 Delta 2 Charlie Romeo a couple of years back, which ended up with, I think, about 2,500 or something like that. But generally speaking, the top performers in the mega expeditions are around maybe 12 to 1,400 QSOS per man per day. The top performers from this region tend to be around 700. So I'd say maybe roughly half. So there's a challenge to be able to do that. But the good news is that we will use those diplexers and triplexers from 4 Oscar 3 Alpha. So we can have 3 operators using one beam to operate on 3 bands at the same time. And if the conditions are good, we should be able to have on most bands CW, SSB, and hopefully FT8 as well with 100 watts. 3 stations at the same time. So one way or another, if only one band is open, we can still operate. We should be able to have three modes used at the same time. But if multiple bands are open, then we will have as many stations as possible. So we'll be crowded for sure. But
okay, that's good.
We are in touch. We are in close discussions with. I forgot now the call sign of my apologies, but the gentleman who will be operating from Crozet in order to avoid, undesirable interferences, which will be annoying for the chasers. So,
Yeah. Okay. Other questions?
Hi, Caesar. John, G4IRN here. Hello. On the slide, it looked like you're landing on the south side of the island, but the later photograph looked like the tents are nearer the north. How do you get across the island?
No. Everything that you've seen, and I don't know if you can go back very, very quickly to the slides. There's a photo. I don't know. Yeah, I think after the island, after the photo which shows the location of the island. You'll have the photo of Camp Phi, yeah. That's the hill that you see on top. It's the one that we're going to set on. So all these other conditions, what I mentioned, that you see, there's a hump. That hump, it's in the northern direction, not on the north side of the island, but there's one of the slides, the mock slides, which on which there's a ton of there are some red with reds, the antennas. That's the hump at the south end, but as you see in the northern direction, I think it's the northern direction if I'm not mistaken, but in any case it's the red direction towards North America. So it has to be west coast of North America. There's a little bit of a hump, there's a little bit of a peak, there's a little bit of a blip there. So we're still at Camp Phi, and at no point in time we can leave from another place. So that's a little bit of a strenuous issue, because we have to have good weather conditions to land, and we have to have good conditions to leave. We are convinced that will be able to withstand, due to everything that we planned, any conditions that will come, will occur during our stay. But we have to have good conditions to leave, because we can't go from any other place. This is we're stuck with that southern end. So if I ever mention anything, I thought it was the northern direction, the direction to the west coast of North America. That's a little bit obstructed by a peak, and we'll have to see right then and there how we're going to exactly place the antennas. But other than that, that's nothing that's left to chance, I guess.
I'm just looking. Yeah, Justin.
Thank you, Cesar, for an excellent presentation. Justin, G4 Tango Sierra Hotel. Just thinking about antennas and things, I noticed you're using Yagis for some of the bands, and I just wanted you, if you could clarify the fact that you're sort of up on a glacier almost, and how far away from the sea, sort of elevation-wise, and why that makes sense. Got a lot of island DXpeditions would use verticals by the sea, which you can't do, I presume.
I think that one of the elements that is very important for us is to have the ability to run within specific frequency ranges on different bands, multiple stations on the same band. And some of the guys who are very experienced with antenna work have being given specific tasks to create or to test those verticals, but you can only put so many. So we will have actually verticals for all the bands. As a matter of fact, we intend to be operational within hours from landing on 1 or 2 bands, probably 1 to begin with, and the second one, as soon as possible. And that will be with verticals. But those verticals will be replaced once the camp is set, and the other antennas brought in by the Yagis. Okay, so the experience that these guys, there are a number of guys who have been given these tasks of looking into the antennas based on the experience, and probably also because of the donations given to us by Antennas. We are confident that this was let's say an appropriate decision to minimize the interference and to maximize the output. The other issue is that these generators will consume quite a bit of diesel. Okay, and it depends based on the consumption on the fuel consumption. It may be possible, or it may be required at times, to operate with no more than a kilowatt, no more than probably 800 watts, right? So particularly if we are to stay 30 days at some point, or 28 days or 26 days, there may be some ration that we have to look into. So, the other issue that I kind of want to mention just on a personal, I've been operating from the Arctic areas quite a number of times, and I've been operating from the subantarctic areas for quite a number of times, and there was using a vertical. So a couple months ago, I was calling, I think, Romeo 1 Alpha November Fox was operating a Zulu Sierra 7 Alpha November Fox from one of these Antarctic small stations, and I was curious, and I was trying to copy to log him. I'm having a Step IR Yagi, and I was copying him 5.9, and I was calling with 500 watts, and he wasn't copying me at all. I was wondering what's going on. Maybe I have something. And there was quite a few other stations from North America who were copying him, but he wasn't coming back to anybody. And then one German station, if I remember correctly, posted on the DX cluster, he's running 100 watts into a vertical. And then I remembered my difficulty from the Arctic regions around, higher latitudes, with the polarization that the vertical has. In my inability, the signal noise ratio would be, the noise level would be very high, and I wasn't able to do it. And then one of a sudden it crossed my mind, well, how about if I slow down? And I think I transmitted around 22 words per second. And he picked up VE3, called VE3 a couple of times, and finally, six changes later, I was in the log. And then right after that, because Oleg knows me, I kind of know him, I got an email from him saying, well, I'm sorry it took me so long because, he was between Yankee Charlie, Lima Yankee Charlie, and Yankee Lima Charlie, and Charlie Lima, and all sorts of combinations. So, I think that given the location where we are, using the beams will enlarge the time window within which we will be able to have good reception, or stunning reception, or excellent reception, much better than what the vertical can provide. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. If interference occurs, we're going to rely on the Lima Zulu 1 Alpha Q, which is not a Yagi. So
I'm sure when you're there, you will evolve as things happen, like all good DXpeditions.
That is correct.
Something works and it doesn't work, then you change.
You're absolutely right. We will have a number of antennas available. They are. We decided that we may use some of those phased components. Maybe that would be necessary. We'll have to see. But even for the verticals, we will try to increase, let's say, the effect on particular directions that eventually will be more crowded, more intense. The demand would be higher, and so on and so forth. So, but the point is that will have the ability to run to rebuild antennas there, to place others. And you're right. If we think, but I think that. I have never been on a DXpedition myself with Yagis, but I can't wait to go to.
But we can't wait for you to go either. I think we're probably going to wrap it up there, Cesar. First of all,
yes, so my apologies to the next speaker. Hopefully he will.
No. We'll catch it up. But we ought to let you go and have your Saturday morning breakfast and coffee as well. And we appreciate that time in the morning.
Or some opening 6 meters, but
I think, obviously from everyone here, we wish you all the best, a safe journey as much as anything. And if you'd like, we'd send you a list of all the call signs of the people in this room. Just out of interest, who needs Bouvet? Wow. I think, who doesn't need Bouvet? 3 people in the room don't need Bouvet.
On any band, I'm surprised. I have Bouvet on maybe 3 bands, but I still love to have Bouvet on 160. So
yeah, I want it on 160 as well. So Cesar, thanks very much. Apologies.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for
having there in the end.
I'll pass your your regards and wishes to the rest of the team, and we'll hope to meet you all on the air.
Okay, thanks. Round of applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much.